Welcome everyone to this first live our letter. So I'm very happy to welcome today Kirstie Kwarteng, who has been willing to experiment with me this new format. And I'm glad because I was thinking about it for a few months, but I never really tried. And then she was like, no, don't want to write. I want to talk. And I was like, yes. So let's talk. So today we're going to talk about rest, what's the relationship they have with rest, whether it's a nice or maybe not so nice relationship, and how also it features in their work and in their life in general. So the R letter is usually a written format on LinkedIn, which aims to normalize conversation around rest at work, but also in life in general. Every week, I ask questions to a different professional, which tells me about how rest features in their lives. And now I'm trying to do that live because I think it's also nice to take more time and to feel the vibe, because rest is an embodied practice. So it is something that is right here, that is about being right here, right now with oneself or with someone else, because collective rest is also a possible practice. So hence this willingness on my part, at least this desire to experiment with such a format. So enough about this introduction. Let Kirstie introduce themselves. First, very important question, since we hear about rest, I want to ask you, how are you today, rest-wise or in general?
Thank you. Today I'm feeling good. I am a bit tired, so I was laying down earlier, just minding my business, watching some TV, some Modern Family. So today was a rest day. I had to run an errand earlier in the morning, but aside from that, it's a chill and will continue to be a very chill day.
Nice. I wish I had done the same, and I shall be inspired by you, I think, tomorrow.
Good.
Thank you for the inspiration. Now, can you introduce yourself in a few sentences, talking about who you are and the work you do, and especially you have an amazing project that you've been running for now a few years, and I would love for our viewers to hear about it too. So tell us about you.
Yes, so I call myself a storyteller and a curator of stories. I generally like hearing about people's lives and how they got to wherever they are in their lives. And so I feel like my academic work is an extension of that as well. So I am at the very, very end of my PhD at SOAS, which looked at how children of Ghanaian immigrants are maintaining their connection to Ghana. So in that I did, interviews were my main, research, my main data collection method. And I really enjoyed speaking with, the second gen Ghanaians, as they're called, in my field sites were London, New York, and Accra. So being in these different cities and talking to people about their transnational experiences, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. And I enjoyed connecting with people in that way. And then my current job, actually, I'm a research manager with Shabaka Social Enterprise, which is a research and consultancy organization that focuses on diaspora, migration, and humanitarianism. That's my day job.
Wow.
And then the project that you mentioned, the Nana Project, is all about curating stories of Ghana's history through the voices of Ghanaian elders. And related to rest, that is actually on a bit of a hiatus right now, because finishing school is a lot of work. Finishing a PhD.
You bet.
Yeah. So that, and me and my co-founder is also, she was wrapping up her MBA as well. So we were both just needed a little space to be able to focus on getting our academic things done.
Of course. And that's the beauty of this project that you created, is you decide when you can invest time in it, when maybe you can invest less. And it's been going on for how many years now?
Oh gosh. I believe November will be the 9th year, which is
Wow.
really wild to say. Yeah.
So I think, yeah, you can take a little break. It's fine. There is material already. I think you create
Yes.
a lot of. So you are sharing. You have a website, I believe, where you share archives and transcripts of interviews with elders. Is that correct?
Yes. So we have a website that has like the audiovisual interviews, the video interviews that we've done with Ghanaian elders. We also have some photo stories, like a picture of an elder back when they were like 6 or 18 or whatever, with a caption from them saying just kind of like what was happening or like how they were as a person at the time. We have audio stories as well, like kind of like a podcast form, and a few written interviews and written stories as well. So that's all on the website. We're also on social media. Our Instagram page is there and Twitter as well.
I will share all of that in the caption of this video to make sure that everybody can discover this amazing work, because unfortunately, if not for you, this kind of history, the stories would be lost, I guess, right?
Yeah, but thankfully there's actually a lot more like projects that are similar to the Nana project that have come up since we've started.
Wow.
So it is an ode to high life, which is all about preserving Ghana's musical history. They're doing a lot of great work. And then there's another one called Sea Hene, which is about in Ghana, the chiefs normally travel under like umbrellas. Like if you see a really big umbrella, that's a very important person. It's the chief of a community.
Yeah.
And so their work is all about preserving the work of the chieftaincy and preserving that history. So there's been a lot of things that have been come up and that have been popping up in the time since we've started. So I'm glad to see the work being done, because there's a lot of work to do. We lose, unfortunately, we lose elders every day. So it's important that we preserve as much of our history as we can while we have them, while we still have them here.
And it's interesting, it's not rest related, but listening to you, I realized there was an interesting red thread in your work, which is you have this project about elders, so the history of the past, and then your own research, your PhD, is about the youth, so the second generation. So it's about the future, the history in the making.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah. So in these two ways, you are as you say, a curator of a living history of Ghana through its diaspora, if I may say it like that.
Yeah. I think that's accurate to say. Yeah.
Amazing. We are glad you exist.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for introducing yourself in such a nice way and presenting the Nana project. Now, let's talk about rest. So, what is your relationship to rest, if you have one? Has it changed? How does rest fit in your life in general and in your work life in particular? Tell us more about this love or not love of rest, or with rest.
It's my relationship with rest is something that I'm working on strengthening. I think, especially just coming out of the PhD process, which is very intense. Rest was not something that I incorporated into my PhD process, especially towards the end, which I don't think is healthy, in hindsight. But I was very focused on, I just want to get this done. But it's important to take a break from our work, just to let our minds, our muscles, our eyes, that to look on computer screen, like these are all muscles. You can't, you don't see people at the gym consistently lifting weights like 24/7. No, they take rest days. True. And in the same day, like I think I'm looking back, I wish I had done that, even taking one day off, because one of my friends, she was good about that. She didn't do any work on Sundays. Me, I was working Sunday to Sunday, literally like 7 days a week. So I think coming out of that and realizing the toll that had taken on my body, I was like, okay, no, like I only have this one body to last me my whole life. So I need to do what I can to make sure that I'm here, here a long time. So yeah, because of that, I'm trying to now do and it's a bit of a delicate balance of like, because for me, rest does mean like laying down, chilling, watching TV, like something that's like just kind of easy, right? But then it can also be, like active rest, like talking on the phone with family and friends, going out for lunch or dinner with, my family and friends, people that I haven't seen in some time as well, because that also can feel very rejuvenating. So I think just doing things that are, restorative, rejuvenating, to kind of help me, get more energy, come back to myself. That's what I'm working towards now, with my relationship with rest, and it's something I have to be very active about, or intentional about doing.
Do you think your relationship to rest was different before the PhD?
Oh, I'm even trying to remember my life before.
Yeah, that's often the problem. Yes.
PhD. Yeah, I mean, I would say it was, because I was not, completely immersed in this, in this project. Before I started my PhD, I was living in a, different country. And yeah, I felt more able to just have my like evenings and weekends to myself, as working a regular 9 to 5. I think the Nana project, would take up some of my free time, but not in the way, my PhD was, or how it felt it maybe should be or should have been. So I think it was easier for me to rest before I started my PhD. So I think now I kind of have to learn how to rest again.
Yeah, because I mean, at the same time, it's a bit like riding a bicycle. You never really forget how to rest.
Right.
But I think what is hard is to get back at it. You might know in your head, okay, resting looks like, I don't know, sleeping, watching a movie, seeing someone. But the impulse of getting there, of saying, okay, let me block the time, let me actually lie down and do it without feeling guilty, or, feeling like, oh, I should be doing something else. This mental resistance, I think, is the biggest hurdle, at least in my own experience as well.
Yeah, 100%, because it is like, oh, I could be doing this and that, or I need to do laundry, or whatever. It's like, I don't know, the laundry will be there. Like the things, like all these things can wait.
Yeah. And I think especially when one has been through a PhD, where, as you say, it takes over your life, because that's how academia wants you to be. I mean, it's not like you have an idea one day to not have a life anymore. I think it's a byproduct of an environment where the role models you have this kind of life as well. So you tend to emulate a lifestyle where rest is not happening. So then anytime you're not working, you've internalized the idea that you should be working. So even when the PhD is finished, as you were saying, if you could be doing something else, like laundry or whatever, you still cannot really rest, because you've trained your brain to keep nagging you, be like, yes, but what about laundry? What about grocery shopping? What about, what about the what about,
Exactly. Yeah, there's always, especially, and post PhD as well. There's thinking about, no, how can I get my work out there? Like, what conferences should I be speaking at? Who do I need to be talking to get my work out there? Which are things that I do absolutely want to do, but I'm really trying to honor where I'm at mentally and physically. So it is a bit of a tightrope. At least that's what it feels like to me. A bit of a tightrope to walk with the how much can I do, or like should I be doing right now, knowing that I also do really need to take a break.
Yeah. And like throughout, I think, the PhD process, we are left very alone with this kind of questions and issues. It's like there is, I mean, I don't know your supervisor, and I mean, maybe sometimes we can have a supervisor, PhD supervisor, that would be willing to have such conversations and direct you, and themselves have some interesting practice when it comes to resting and scheduling their time. But I think the majority, that for what I've heard or witnessed, this is private life, and this is not something where they would want to maybe mentor you or have this conversation. So then we are left alone again, when the same way we were working, after the work is done, we're also left alone in dealing with the aftermath, as you say, dealing with the toll that the work had on you, actually.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm very grateful for my supervisor. We have a very good relationship. She's been wonderful. Like I feel very blessed to have her as my supervisor because she has viewed me as a whole human being and not solely just like a, a academic output machine, essentially. Yeah. But to be fair though, actually I haven't brought this question up to her. It might be something the next time I meet with her might be something
and I think especially because I would say senior academics with more experience might have developed their own practice or tricks or strategies to survive, because they've been there for 20 years now, 30 years. So hopefully they are not doing it the same way they used to be doing it when they were still 25 and full of energy, you know. So I think they could be resourceful person. I mean, in my own discipline, the majority of professors do not know how to rest, if I'm being very honest. So I wouldn't really go to them to be like, tell me about resting, because they would look at me like, what do you mean resting? Like, no one has time for that. Like, but if your supervisor is like that, and maybe it's also discipline bound. I think there are some disciplines that are more human focused, more humanist in the way they approach academic work, where these conversations might be had, actually.
That's a good point. I'm also thinking about the people in my cohort or other people I know. I don't know. I mean, it just seems once people finish, because of course, we have to work, so it's most people I knew were they finished and started, I mean, myself included, started working. So some are teaching. I think most are teaching different in different capacities. I knew that I wanted something a bit more practice-based when I finished. So that's what I'm doing now, and I'm very happy with that.
And I think when it feels to me that when at least the type of job you're doing is perhaps more structured, so it's easier to take rest than teaching, which is still the academic world where there's no really schedule. You could be working all the time, and you are demanded. A lot is demanded from you as well.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted I guess more traditional type job, like a 9-to-5 type job where I know the things that I need to do. And also like the PhD is, I'm the one doing everything, but now like I work with a team of people. So the work, the work is shared. Which
Which I think actually we should change the PhD programs to be like teamwork.
Teamwork
would be way better and way less toll on us, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you for this this answer to this first question. Let me turn now to the second one. So I was asking you how did you rest before the PhD? Let's go back maybe even earlier than that, or not. I'm wondering, where did you learn how to rest? Whether there was someone that taught you, it could be a parent, a grandparent, a friend, a partner, a manager, a teacher, a religious leader. Where did you learn how to rest? Who showed you?
I don't know. I feel like thinking back to like my childhood and stuff, when you're a kid, they make you take naps and stuff like that. So I remember even like being in pre-K or even like kindergarten, first grade, even if we didn't take like naps, like we had to like, close our eyes and put our head on the desk and like just like be quiet, and they would turn up all the lights, so I think those are my earliest memories of resting during the day. And I mean, from my accent, people can probably tell, but coming from America, I don't think rest is something that is a big part of our culture. And now like living in the UK, although people, my friends here probably wouldn't say that, but I do feel like the UK, or maybe more, Europe more broadly, is a bit better about letting people like, take more vacation time and stuff like that. Which I think is really good. But sorry, that's a bit of a tangent. Going back to your question, I think just saying that, like thinking about rest as like where I learned to rest, like it was in a Ghanaian home, but like in an American, American context.
Yeah.
And so I think like thinking about my parents, they worked really hard, as in their lives, but even, if they were tired, they sat down, if they needed to take a break, if they needed to take a nap, they did what they needed to do. And even now, and with finishing my PhD, my mom trying to, remind me, make sure you rest, make sure you eat, it's okay to take a break from your work and like do something else. And she's right, as moms tend to be.
I think, yes, mom tends to be right. Yes, hashtag, of course.
Yes.
And second, I think there is something as well about the evolution of how we do rest. There is a cultural underpinning to that. As you said, America is not known for rest. America is known for grind culture.
Yeah.
It's actually something that Trisha Hersey, so the author of the book Rest is Resistance,
Yeah.
which inspired me to create this our letter, says very well in a book. America is grind culture. Since you are a kid at school, you are taught to be grinding. So I think depending on where you grow up, you might have a better chance or not to be familiarized with rest and to also see rest as something more or less legitimate. But the second thing I wanted to say, and that's something she also says in the book, is the huge impact that technology has on our capacity or incapacity to rest. I think our parents and our grandparents, because their relationship to technology is different, there was the capacity, again, the embodied capacity to say, I'm taking a break now, I'm sitting down, or I'm laying down and I'm resting my eyes. But for us, because there are these tools, these devices at the top of our fingers all the time that never switch off, that we never switch off.
Right.
We might be sitting, we might actually spend 20 hours sitting, working on a PhD, but
Right.
it is not resting.
Right.
So I think I understand why parents are trying to remind us of resting, but for us, it's harder to do it because the environment is different. The injunctions as well are different. Not saying that they didn't work hard and it was not hard for them, but I think switching off was something that was maybe more possible, more doable. I don't know if you agree with
Yeah, I think technology it's changed. Oh my gosh, it's changed so much. So I do think it's a bit easier for I think our parents' generation to switch off or to not be on their phones as much as my generation or the generation coming up. I do think about, people in their teens and 20s and their relationship to technology, because I was, I didn't necessarily grow up with the internet. The internet was something that came along when I was in elementary school, middle school, that it really started, becoming more popular.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, and they say to like, before you go to bed to like not look at your phone or like blue light and things like that. So there is an impact that technology, as good of a tool as it can be, like you don't need to be using tools all the time.
That makes me think of your PhD research. So you're interviewing rather young people, but maybe not that young, neither if they're second generation. Have you seen a difference in the way the second generation population is handling technology, handling rest, compared to you, for example, which you might be a bit older than them? I don't know.
Well, the ages, I'm trying to remember from the top of my head. I know like the oldest person I spoke to was like in their early 50s.
Okay.
And I think the youngest one was in their mid 20s. So there was like a bit of a range.
Yeah.
Breast didn't really come up because I was, looking at like what they were doing, like the ways they were connecting with Ghana, which is something active.
Yeah.
But some of them I would say did view Ghana as a place of rest, in a sense that they could be themselves, especially in regards to like race and racism. They felt that they could, they were aware, they weren't naive about, Ghana, every country has its issues, but they felt that they could be free in a way they couldn't be in the US and the UK. Everyone is Black, and like, if they know that, they're not going to get they get pulled over by the cops, like it won't be because they're of the color of their skin, like things of that nature. So for that, they felt that they could breathe a bit easier, and that they felt more free in Ghana in a way that they didn't in the US and UK.
Yeah, and I think that's a powerful thing to say, because it's not only technology that prevents us from resting, it's also the various form of dominations that we are subjected to on a daily basis, depending on our identities. And I think when you are a racialized person in a white supremacist country, rest might become very elusive, because there is a sense of alertness. Since you are unsafe, or you are always subjected to some form of abuse, you can never totally relax. And resting is, at the end of the day, about relaxing, feeling safe, feeling like you can be there and nothing will happen to you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's interesting how maybe the homeland, the home country for diaspora might mean rest, while perhaps the country of immigration, even though it's their countries now as well, is perhaps the country of doing, being, staying awake, staying alert, in a way that takes a toll on them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think with Ghana really trying to position itself, well, not trying to, I would say that they have positioned themselves as a tourist, like a premier tourist destination now as well. So it's not even just people of the, direct Ghanaian diaspora that are coming. It's essentially anyone that is Black that is coming to Ghana to to feel free. So that's, yeah, it's an expansive thing, which I think is good. Yeah.
Very interesting. And so here, I mean, going to a place to rest is one form of rest practice. I'm curious to hear about the rest practices that work well for you, especially at work or around work, and how you came up with such practice. You can give several examples, of course, if you wish.
Yeah, so at work, so I work remotely. So I work from home. And so it's important to me I try to get up every like 45 minutes. I think it's supposed to be like 30 or whatever. Like they say, you get up for like 5 minutes, like every 30 minutes, or like 15 every 45 or something like that. So that's what I try to do. I'm not, again, like my relationship to rest is growing. So it's not something I do as often as I should or like to, especially if I'm really like in the zone. But because of just the amount of sitting I've done over the past year, like I've started noticing issues with, certain joints and muscles in my body, like things getting, weaker, and like this, having more injuries and things of that nature. So that's really just like maintaining my health is really the main reason why I try to get up and move my body, every so often within the hour. Because like I said, like I only have this one body, I'm not gonna, this is it for my whole life. So I need to make sure I take care of it as much as I can.
Yeah, it's funny how, I mean, our professions as scholars or as writers or like white collar professionals, we might dismiss it as a non-physical work, but it actually has a huge impact on our bodies, like a huge one, a very insidious but extremely deep impact on our bodies. Not only, like you say, the joints, the muscles, but also sleeping patterns, nervous system regulation, all of that is impacted. And I've had the experience once, as a good academic, I overworked once. I had a deadline, the famous deadline, you're gonna die if you don't finish the thing on time, which in itself is a crazy thing to think. But I had a deadline, and I worked, for, I don't know, 2 days on a row, almost without sleeping, because you do it. And after that, since then, I've had issues in my knees, because the fact of sitting for so long is so unnatural for the body that I created tensions and inflammation in my ligaments. This was crazy, because it's like I was doing nothing in a sense. I was literally sitting, but the too much sitting hurt me.
Yeah.
So you could say, oh, when I rest, I would sit down. But for people like us, whose work is about being immobile, for us, rest should, I believe, involve a lot of body movements, actually.
Yes, I completely agree. So I've started getting back into exercise, some stretching, just moving my body, even if it's just going for a walk, a long walk, it's very important to keep the body moving. And like when you're writing up and like you said, the deadline is there and you need to get it done, it's hard to lose sight of that.
Yeah, and I think the pandemic as well has made it even worse, because for people like us, again, working from home, we were stuck at home. Everything could be delivered if we are privileged enough to be able to afford delivery, etc. Of course, I think we're both speaking from rather privileged positions in that regard, which made it so that you don't even need to stand up anymore. I remember at the beginning of the pandemic, someone saying, we all have watches or like a phone that counts our steps. And the person was saying, literally yesterday, I took 30 steps in the day, literally because I went to the loo twice, but otherwise, because we were confined, things were coming to you.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, how do you do rest? I think that's something that a lot of people have been struggling with the pandemic. How do you do rest when you are confined, stuck, and you don't have the possibility to go to move as much as you would want to? But a lot of things to think about. So moving the body, I say 100%. I need to do that too myself more. So thanks again for the inspiration. And now I would like you, if you have one, of course, to share maybe a picture with the audience, if you had one, or not. If you don't, it's fine. A picture that would represent rest, or describe it, an image, a vision, or a music or a sound, something that whenever you see it, you look at it, you listen to it, you're like, okay, this is rest for me. Or this is how rest should feel like.
Oh. There's this woman on Instagram that I follow.
Yeah.
We send her name. I think her handle is Z Blay. Her name is Zeba Blay.
Okay.
And I think she's a writer. Okay. But every Sunday she posts like a mood board of sorts of I hope this is what your Sunday is giving. And it's all like Black women essentially in different forms of like rest and self-care. So like they're lying down, they're doing their hair, they're reading at the grocery store, like things of that nature. So I think there's a lot of images in there that like I'm thinking of.
Wow. I'm glad you mentioned it, because I didn't know her and her Instagram, and I'm gonna check it out because this sounds really great. And so now we came to our last and final question. I believe, but other people are saying it at the moment, that we are all ancestors in becoming. And therefore we are a future, like a potential rest teacher for someone else down the line. And this someone else can actually be you. You can be the future rest teacher to your future you in 20 years when you have learned more about resting. So I was wondering, what rest lesson, if you had to choose one, would you like to leave as legacy?
Honor your body. To listen to your body when it's telling you something. Because throughout my PhD, I've had different health things come up. I think some of which were related to my inability to rest. So I think that's why I've been harping on like, this is the only the only body I have. I think people can get into trouble by not listening to their body and honoring what it's telling them. So I think that's my main lesson for myself and for future generations and whoever will hear this. Honor your body, listen to your body.
I was speaking with someone that said something very beautiful. They said the body is smarter than the brain. The problem is that we have been taught to think that the brain is smarter than the body. But the knowledge, the body that the knowledge has about itself, about us, is just incredible. and it should be our compass. The whole like spiraling, talking here in the brain shouldn't be the compass.
Right.
But we have to unlearn to relearn. So one stretching movement at a time, one laying down at a time. It's okay. It's not a race. It's not a competition. So anything we can do kindly with ourselves is always a win and a reward. So yeah, honor your body. Thank you very much for being with me today and sharing what rest is to you, and what it will be, hopefully even more for you in the coming month and weeks, not weeks, no, years rather. And so as I said, I'll share with the video the links to your project, and we wish you the best in the end of the process of the PhD and for the next phase, whatever it happens to be. And lots of rest. Rest well.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.